Yeah, what's happening, guys? Happy Monday, January 27th. Month's almost gone. First month of 2014, almost gone. They hate when people go, man, where does the time go? It fucking goes. That's where it goes, man. Come on. Quit saying that, man. Shit just happens. Life. It just goes by and then you know, then it's over. Where does the time go? Time sure does fly. Where does all the time go? I don't know. Just funny. Funny people say stuff like that. You know. But yeah, month already gone, 2014. I gotta say, man, 2014, I hope it's good for you guys. I've had a great month so far. This year feels good to me. I think 13 was good. But 14 feels good, man. It's just, I've been having some fun. You guys have a good weekend? I had a great weekend. I was just back in the Bay Area with Pauly Shore, buddy. We did Yoshi's Jazz Club over in Oakland. Never even been in there. Which, by the way, I'm going to give a shout out. Michael Schenker's playing there February 6th. This isn't an advertisement. I'm just saying, if you live in the Bay Area, get your ass to Yoshi's and see Michael Schenker, man. First of all, Yoshi's is beautiful. Thanks, everyone that worked there. Great time. And to see Michael Schenker in there is going to be spectacular. It's like so small. I'm thinking about going up there for it. And Pauly. First time I ever went out and did some shows with Pauly. What a great guy. Pauly Shore. You know, just funny when you're on the road with guys that you grew up with, watching on MTV. You know, the guy was the biggest, man. That Pauly Shore show on MTV. How big was that? That's just great. He survived, man. He's alive. I don't know if I would have survived that. If I was in that big of an eye of a storm, cruising around, I'd probably be dead somewhere. Just from way too much partying. But thanks, Pauly, for taking me out. Thanks, Yoshi's. And it's great to be back. Got a great guest today. I'm so fired up. I was at the NAMM show. I was talking about it last week. The NAMM show, if you don't know what the NAMM show is, I'll just give you a quick rundown. It's basically like a car show. You know how they have a car show all over America? You go see the new models, like 2014 Corvette, all that stuff. I go every year to the car show. But years ago, I used to go every year to the music convention, NAMM, National Association of Music Merchants. That's what it stands for. It's always held in Anaheim at the convention center next to Disneyland. And basically, it's all the companies that make music equipment set up and show off their new stuff. Like Gibson, Fender, Ibanez, Marshall, all that stuff. But I'm talking every piece of fucking music equipment. Anything. A reed for your flute, you know, violin bows, sheet music, anything that has to do with music is in this place. I used to go back in the 80s and 90s, and I would just get fucked up. Just drink millions of beers, walk around it all day. The reason you go is big rock stars back in the day and now, they go there and they do demonstrations of instruments that they're endorsing for the company. You know, like say Fender has Yngwie there, and then Yngwie will show off, you know, his new guitar for the year. And then Press is there, like everyone from around the world. And then you get to meet these guys. I mean, like, excuse me, like 2 feet away, there they are just burning it up. Like this year, I saw Jakey Lee at the Charvel booth, describing the new Charvel guitar he has coming out. You know, I run into all kinds of people while I was there. Billy Sheehan, Paul Gilbert, Eddie Van Halen was there. I mean, it's radical. And it's all dudes. It's all fucking dudes. And then, like I said before, somehow girls, women, cougars from the old school world fly in, and they get in somehow and try to hook up with some of their old famous favorite rockers. Pretty wild. The reason I'm talking about it a lot, and the reason I'm bringing it up, is my guest today is Mike Varney. Mike Varney is one of my oldest friends. We figured it out. We've known each other, I think, 32 years. He's one of the first guys I seen playing a rock band. He's in a band called Cinema. Played the Petaluma Phoenix Theater. I'm not going to tell all the stories, but he was in a band before that in the 70s called the Nuns. Huge punk band, right in the ground zero of punk. Plays music for a few years, decides to quit, and start a record company. 22. A lot like Brian Slagle, who was his friend at the time. Remember I had Brian Slagle on from Metal Blade? Mike Varney, same thing. Loved music. But Mike's goal was different. You know, the first heavy metal label in the U.S., he put out records called U.S. Metal 1, 2, 3 that would feature bands. But his real goal was to find the next super guitar player. Sorry. Still sick. Comes and goes. This is fucked. Watch out. You get the flu. Lay down, man. Comes and goes. Last week I was sick. Oh, I feel better. Then boom, it's back. Just burning it up. Anyway, Varney decides to start a record label called Shrapnel Records. Goal was to find the new Eddie Van Halen, the new Jimi Hendrix, you know, the new Ritchie Blackmore, whatever. He wanted to find the new player, and he does, by the name of Yngwie Malmsteen. So the rest is history. He had a column and guitar player called Spotlight. The guy's done so much for metal and rock. He's just a great friend. Can't believe it, man. Mike Varney. I just listened to this episode. I recorded it a month ago in San Fran, and I was holding it because I wanted it to come out after the NAMM show, because Mike would get me into the NAMM show every year. So as I'm walking around the NAMM show, I'm just getting these flashbacks of the old days, and I realized, fuck, man, I love the NAMM show. I mean, I can't do it like I used to. I walked around for like 4 hours. I was done. Just old and out of shape. And it was loud. I was like, this shit is loud. I sound like an old man. Like, this shit is loud. I'm going home. But I loved it, man. I saw old friends there, new friends. Earthquaker got me in this year. Earthquaker Devices, the guitar pedals. Love those guys. Thanks, guys, for getting me in and letting me eat all your candy, drink your waters. It was good, man. So I listened to this episode, and God, I just loved it. Mike has thousands of stories. We could do Mike could actually do like 50 records of his stories. They're incredible. He has rock stories that'll blow your mind. He's a positive guy. He's a great guy. Keeps me in check sometimes. So that's cool. Get ready for the episode. Thanks, everybody. I hope you had a great weekend. And, I was in Anaheim. NAMM show. While I was there, I stopped by my favorite spot, L.A. Harley. L.A. Harley over there in Anaheim, the only dealer called Los Angeles Harley. Rock and roll right there. They should call it Rock and Roll Harley, right? L.A. Harley, that's great. Go visit them. 2635 West Ornsthorpe Avenue in Fullerton. You looking for new inventory or a used bike or a test ride? You want to trade your bike in or your car, your boat, your guitar, whatever. They take it all. They offer financing. Fly into LAX. They'll pick you up. Get a bike and ride home wherever you're at in the world. Go down to LA Harley. See my boys Chris and Roger. You can find them online. Los Angeles Harley Davidson of Anaheim.com. Call them. Get a shirt. Whatever. Love you guys, LA Harley. Check them out, guys. They'll do full customization of bikes. These guys rock, man. They got a great guy in service. I love this guy, Ron. They got guys that have been working on bikes for 30 years, man. They know their biz. So go see LA Harley. Even if you're in another state or country, hit them up. They'll work you a deal. They'll beat everyone. LA Harley. Love them. Love them. Love you guys. Thanks, Del Razors. I guess that's it. Oh, yeah. Subscribe on iTunes and leave reviews. You guys have been leaving great reviews. Thank you so much. So cool and great. I've been getting emails. DeanDelRey@yahoo.com saying thanks. Love the podcast. All kinds of new fans. Incredible. You guys are great, man. I'm not bullshitting. Man, fuck this chest cold flu bullshit, whatever it is. Anyway, you guys are great. Had so much fun. Hope to see you guys soon. I'll be back in the Bay Area at Cobb's, March 27, 28, 29, I believe. Check out the podcast also on All Things Comedy. If you don't have iTunes, check it, All Things Comedy. These guys rock. That's about it. Keep rocking. Here he is, Mr. Mike Varney, Shrapnel Records. See you guys. Thank you. Hey, what's happening? Here we are, another episode of Let There Be Talk. San Francisco Chronicles here. I've been up here a few days just recording everybody, including this guy here, one of my oldest friends.
Goes back a long way.
It does. And you know what I realized as I was waiting for you to come over was I realized my life has been so good because of key people in the rock and roll world. You know what I mean? Well, and you being one of them.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, certainly.
My guest is Mike Varney. Mike Varney.
Thanks, Dean. I have a picture back from right around the time I started Shrapnel, maybe a little bit earlier. And it was from the Phoenix Theater, and you were a kid in the audience.
Yep.
And the picture's shot from the stage. I think you can see Jeff Pilson, who later would be in Dawkins and Dio, and now he's in Foreigner for many, many years.
Yep.
Jeff's playing bass, and you're down like in the front row at like 15, 16 years old. And I've got that somewhere. I got to find it. And if I find it, I'll be letting you see it because it's pretty funny.
Yeah, because in the last month, the reason I wanted to have you on was I had on two key guys in my life that really got my rock and roll local fucking vibe on. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like one of them being Al Tiemann from Roadrunner.
Yeah, nice guy.
Yeah. The other one being Billy Harvey from Flame. Those are different eras.
Yeah.
And I kept thinking these guys...
Billy the drummer, right?
No, he was the guitar player.
The guitar player, that's right.
Yeah, from Chicago.
Yeah.
And I kept thinking these guys are really the ground zero of Del Rey, kind of the DNA, because of course I liked big bands, but you would see these other bands all the time. But now when I really think about it and my memory comes back, it comes and goes, you know what I mean? You go, oh my God, I just remembered. But what I really remember is the Phoenix Theater, Guitar Wars, Cinema, which was your band, against Ranger.
Not Night Ranger.
Ranger. That's
same
correct.
Band, exact same band.
Same band, but they got sued later or whatever and had to be Night Ranger.
That was a fun band a fun night because we actually beat Ranger or Night Ranger, and they announced us as winners. And the band Night Ranger went home, who, in my opinion, smoked us.
Yep.
But they went home. And we were feeling pretty good about that, and we'd put a lot more effort in the community and knew more people locally and stuff, so that would have had some reason to do it.
It was like a battle of the bands.
It was the battle of the bands for a PV club PA system. both bands were beyond being able to even meet.
Fuck,
or use
1,000
something like
people
that.
there.
It was crowded.
Oh, yeah.
It was a big night. But anyway, after the band went home, one of the roadies came down from the balcony and had another barrel of ballots who said they weren't counted. And we only won by 20 votes or something. So he's counting them out. He's going, look, Ranger really did win.
Oh,
and we're
my God.
So anyway, the best part about it is that, they never got their PV Club PA.
They didn't?
They got stiffed out of their other prize somehow. But they actually did win. But the whole place left thinking that we had won. But actually...
Did you guys get the PA?
Nobody got it.
Wow. Scam.
I think it was a scam. Or somehow, it's my understanding that it never got delivered. But that goes back to about 1980.
1980.
That
now,
was the formation of Shrapnel, too, same year.
That's correct. Now, before that, you were in the early punk era of like Mabue Gardens. I talk about that a lot.
Yeah.
I talk about Ness. You no pay.
Yeah,
and you were in a band called the Nuns.
When the Nuns went into Mabue Gardens, it was 1970. It could have been even the fall of 76, 77, right in that time frame. And they were the first, the Dills were up from L.A., and they were sort of almost San Franciscan, band, because they were up here and kind of helping create the scene. And the other band that was around was Crime. But the Nuns and Crime really had the two large followings, and the Dills were kind of close behind. And so when I joined the Nuns, I think one of our early gigs was playing with Debbie, opening for the Blondie, except that I remember at the time they weren't very big. They were not even really known. And so we already could sell out the Keystone Palo Alto. So we would only agree to a co-headliner
right
at that point in time.
Now, you guys were a big punk band.
Well, locally, we played Winterland a number of times. In fact, I left the band the week before they played with the Sex Pistols' last show on
At
Earth.
the Warfield. I mean, at the Fillmore.
At Winterland.
Oh, Winterland.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, Winterland.
At Winterland. And I told the band I was going to be leaving and that I would do the last gig at Winterland with the Sex Pistols, and then I was gone. And they said, okay. And then like 4 days later, they got a replacement. So I didn't get to play the Sex Pistols show, but I was there, and it was pretty amazing. But that goes back...
Now, how old were you when you were in the Nuns?
19.
19.
Yeah.
And were you into punk rock? Because I've known you for 30 years or whatever,
yeah.
And it's not really a punk rock. We don't talk punk much.
Well, the thing about punk rock is that when it first came out, it was really cool. And it's like anything else, the commerciality watered down the substance and soul of the music. So Sex Pistols came out, they were cool. A lot of the bands that were around were cool. But they were too radical to be accepted by mainstream, America or mainstream the world, per se. And so they had to dummy it down. So all of a sudden you went from a real punk band like The Clash,
yeah,
who then also got watered down,
Yep.
But say the early Clash, and then they're being called New Wave, and New Wave was a transitional phrase that would later incorporate Pat Benatar.
Yeah. So, just a big blanket to try to get anything in.
Exactly. So like
Stray Cats were New Wave.
So so you have the Beatles. Oh my God, they're scary. Okay, well, now you have Freddie and the Dreamers. Oh, okay, that's okay. They wear glasses and stuff. So, they're studious. But that was the whole thing. Even Elvis comes out. Oh my God, you can't show him below the waist on TV. Okay, well then here's Pat Boone. Oh yes, we can tolerate Pat Boone. He's cool. So
yeah, it's just America, right?
Yeah, every scene has a rebel, and then the rebel has other people following in that direction, and then eventually the mainstream capitalizes on that and finds what I would consider to be like a sellout artist.
Yeah,
that is not really that at all.
Well, I always say the original guy breaks the door down, doesn't make any money,
exactly,
and then all these shitty fakes blast through.
That's pretty much the same theory. I wouldn't be that.
Well, that's the Delray Street term.
I wouldn't say that on a show, that's for sure. But anyway, I was around the early punk scene, and we got to play with like Television at the boarding house, and we played with the Dictators at Winterland, and we played with Brian Ferry and the Ramones, and got to play 4 nights with the Dictators down in at the Whiskey.
Oh yeah.
That was kind of interesting. So we were kind of around there, and I quit to play with these guys. 3 of them, which would later become the News, would be Huey Lewis. So
why did you quit the Nuns?
Well, because Brian Marnell was a friend of mine, and he was later become the leader of SVT.
Yeah.
And SVT was a huge San Francisco band.
People love that band.
Yeah, they're great. They're influential to this day. But Brian died in I think around 81 or 82, probably 82, I think it was actually. And Brian was just a great guitar player, very charismatic, and he and I were friends, and he said, "Man, why are you playing with the Nuns, man? You should be playing with us." And so he brought me into their band, which would have Johnny Cole and Mario Cipollina and Bill Gibson, the News, that would later be Huey Lewis's News. Those guys, they weren't thrilled at all at having me in the band.
Right.
But Marnell, I'd been bringing him around to punk shows, and he was seeing the writing on the wall going, "Hey, man, we got to have some energy and be a rock band." And that band was like funk and R&B and stuff, influenced. And so
yeah, there's kind of those weird different scenes in the Bay Area, right?
Exactly.
You kind of had like those kind of Berkeley, Palo
funk
Alto
bands.
Yeah, remember that?
Santana, Mallow, Chicano offshoot.
Yeah, all that stuff. And then you would have punk. Yeah. And then you just kind of
metal scene too. There's an underground metal scene. The Boy Gardens had a lot of metal bands that got in under the punk umbrella. I mean, there were plenty of metal bands that were playing there that were could draw crowds and everything, but they weren't really calling them heavy metal. But that's what they were.
Yeah, exactly.
A bunch of them then.
So is this band Cinema that you joined?
No, I joined this band called Soundhole, and they later became known as Airplay. And that band, I joined them because they were great musicians, and they had great songs, and it was just a higher caliber musicianship, than the Nuns.
Yeah, it's not punk.
And the Nuns had already kind of turned down a couple of record deals, as the manager felt that the band, deserved a huge deal, and we just were offered small deals. One of them was by Cliff Bernstein, who later would manage Def Leppard and
Metallica
in the world.
Yeah, right.
And he had offered us a deal on his blank label for $15,000, and I'm like, let's take it. No, Johnny Winter got $300,000 when he re-upped his contract with Columbia.
Johnny Winter. That's Johnny Winter.
That's the example they threw out there. The management. But hey, the manager worked really hard to do the best he could for us, and at 19 years old, I pretty much had enough.
Yep.
And so I wanted to jump ship and try something else. And that was short-lived. I had Jesse Bradman with me, who's still one of my best friends, and he played with Eddie Money and Aldo Nova and Poison.
Plays keyboards.
And Night Ranger. Yeah, and Jesse and I both joined that band with Brian Marnell and those guys at the same time. And then the band broke up and then reformed without both of us about 4 months later.
Yeah, that was the way to get you out.
It was short-lived.
We're breaking up.
Yeah. So anyway, I ended up with Jeff Pilson, who's amazing talent, and Mark Robertson, who's a good friend of mine to this day. And we had that band Cinema, and that was kind of when I started Shrapnel Records in 1980, because I realized that after doing this Rock Justice thing, which is that musical I wrote with Marty Ballin of the Jefferson Airplane, after doing that, getting a deal with EMI and watching how everything was handled, I thought, man, I don't want to be all my life chasing a record deal. And I think you felt that eventually as well at some point in time. You can chase it. Doesn't matter how good you are, even.
It's just it becomes a weird thing. I really, as you get older, you look back at stuff and you go, "Oh, I see what was going on." Like if I think of Cinema right now, I'm 47 years old. Yeah. I can't fucking tell you one thing about them, but you. And I remember you had like black eyeliner. You looked like a raccoon. You played a Gibson SG that was Pelham Blue. Yeah. To that, I remember for years I was like, I've got to get a Pelham Blue SG like Varney had.
Finally got one.
I finally got one.
What'd you have to pay for it?
It was like big money, $6,500, but later worth like $30,000.
Yeah, exactly.
But the thing is, you start to realize that night Ranger played, which was Night Ranger.
Yeah.
I remember their tunes. I remember they had that "Don't Tell Me You Love Me."
Yes.
They had that. They also had that song "Night Ranger," which was like "Night Ranger, where you gonna run to now?" You know what I mean?
Exactly.
But it comes down to the whole thing. They had these tunes that I remembered from fucking what is that? Like
you and
40
now the rest
ago.
Of the world.
Yeah, right. So as you get older, you realize, oh, okay, I see what's going on. The A&R guys do sometimes know what the hell they're talking about.
They do.
The incredible thing about you is you're 22. You start the Shrapnel label. If people don't know what Shrapnel is, it was a guitar. It was a kind of a shredder label.
It was the first. Well, it started as the first heavy metal record label in America.
Before Metal Blade?
Before Metal Blade. Brian Slagle, a great guy.
He's doing the show next week.
Oh, well, Brian and I used to talk on the phone, and when he worked at a record store in Woodland Hills.
Yep.
And he was a big fan of heavy metal, and I was a big fan of heavy metal. And just because I owned a label didn't mean that I was any less interested in the music and whatnot.
Now, once you own the label, you say, I'm not playing anymore?
Yeah, I continued on for about a year or two, and then just said, I can't be responsible to this label and be responsible to a band and forget it. So I quit playing music.
Okay.
Yep. Right around 82 is when I quit playing music.
Now, who's the first band you signed?
Well, in the first 10 records included Le Mans with Peter Marino.
That's
of
correct.
course. And then it included Hawaii with Marty Freedman, later to go into Megadeth.
Yep.
And then included Randy Hansen. No, that was a little bit later. I'm sorry. Included Culprit, Wild Dogs, The Rods.
Oh, they were like compilations, right?
The first 2 records were compilations, U.S. Metal 1 and 2, and that had a bunch of interesting stuff. Lyle Workman was on U.S. Metal 1. He'd later go on to be the soundtrack guy for, what was it, Superbad?
Yep.
And all those kind of movies by those guys, and big-time soundtrack guy.
I mean, if you look at, like, the dudes that you've worked with, I mean, I'm not going to jump way forward because it's a great, great story, but right there, what you're even talking about, there's dudes that are still playing to this day.
Right.
You know what I mean? We're talking about like, like who was in Culprit?
Those guys are not playing to this day as far as I know.
But I was trying to remember.
I mean, they probably are somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere.
I don't think as Culprit they play anymore together. No, but like the Wild Dogs, Matt McCourt, the lead singer, he's still out there doing it.
Yeah.
He's still going for it. And the Rods, David Feinstein, who's Dio's cousin. He was an elf with Dio.
Oh, yeah, badass.
Yeah. And looks like kind of like Dio. They're both around the same height. And then in the day, they both...
Same hair.
Yeah, kind of same hair. And those guys, he owns a restaurant, but the Rods did a reformation at some point in time and made a record, I think, in the last, few years. And then, Steeler, Ron Keel, that was with Yngwie. That was the 7th record I did.
Right.
And I brought Yngwie over from Sweden and put him together with Ron Keel, and originally it was going to be Yngwie with Leonard Hayes and Billy Sheehan.
Oh, dope.
Nobody ever, at that time, Billy Sheehan in the early 80s was just kind of
Talus?
mainly on the East Coast for Talus.
Right.
And was not quite a household name at that point in time. He was getting to be, but not quite yet.
Now, how do you find Yngwie? Because I'm gonna go with my foggy drug memory, and this is what I remember, and you have an impeccable memory, which is great. I remember I'm at the Warfield, and Wolfgang's. Wolfgang's right there where Cobb's is.
Yeah.
I remember Anvil Course is playing, and you come in with Yngwie. I guess you picked him up at the airport or something.
Yeah.
And I remember he comes up, he plays with them, no one knows who he is, and he just blows everyone's mind with this incredible guitar playing. And then he like smashed the guy's amp or something and left.
Oh.
Do you remember that story?
No, but he was into throwing things and all that.
He threw the guitar or something.
Rock star stuff,
yeah.
Jimi Hendrix style, Ritchie Blackmore style, The Who style. He would do some stuff like that. He came out to play with Ron Keel and Steeler. We made the album, and shortly thereafter, I was just in my mid-20s then. I didn't have in mind, holding on to Yngwie for his whole life. I just signed him for the one record.
Yeah, Steeler.
But really got a PR machine going behind him in the grassroots community and whatnot that really got his name all over the place really fast. And he kind of became the guy on the LA scene like in minutes. And people like Dio were going down to see him, and the Alcatraz guys went down and saw him. With Brian Grant Bonnet went to see him.
I saw him play at Wolfgang's.
Yeah. And so
it was incredible.
Everybody was really talking about him, and he was just amazing. And
now before Yngwie, we have Eddie Van Halen.
Yeah.
Okay, we have Hendrix.
Yeah.
And what, do you get a tape sent to you and you hear this guy? Are you like, this is fake?
Well, when I started my label, I sent out I sent out invitations to the musical communities around the United States, to the band magazines of
everywhere.
Everywhere. Buddy Magazine in Texas, Night Rock News in Indiana, Good Times in New York.
Yep.
Seattle Rocket, all those magazines. I sent out a thing to talk. I called them actually, called the editors in most cases, said, "Hey, I'm putting together a record of the best unknown guitarists in the United States, heavy metal.
Yeah.
Do you guys have anybody that's you have a Van Halen level guy there that's really something else
that nobody knows about?" Because there was that one guy, Ron Dady.
Oh yeah.
When I was a kid.
Yeah, I remember him.
And I remember he.
I never worked with him, but I remember him.
He would sit in his room, and you'd go over there, and he was in Petaluma. He'd give lessons, and he was one of the most incredible guitar players ever.
He was awesome.
But when Dio called, he just, I missed my flight. Some people shoot themselves in the foot. They don't want to be famous.
Yeah, he had a shot to go with Dio.
Yeah,
his flight.
yeah. That's the big thing.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, there's guys all over America that seriously like were shredding in their room that nobody knew about.
Right, exactly. So I was trying to find those guys, and what led me to do this was I said to myself, we had Hendrix in the 60s,
Yep.
Van Halen in the 70s. It's 1980. Someone's going to be that guy. Who's that guy going to be?
You were really thinking that?
Well, you can go out to the earliest vestiges of shrapnel, whatever, in the vaults of time, and go back to 1980. And Guitar Player magazine put in a letter that I wrote to them, saying, "I am starting a label. I'm looking for the guitar hero, of the 80s.
Yep.
We had Hendrix in, just like what you said. I said we had Hendrix in the 60s. We had Van Halen in the 70s. I said, Europe's just smoking us right now. They're coming out with all these guys that are just awesome. We are not really coming out with anybody that's."
You mean like the British movement, like those guys, or who are you talking about?
They had guys like Gary Moore,
of course, Gary Moore,
and Uli John Roth from the Scorpions,
Yep.
and all these just super, talented guys that people like even Eddie Van Halen would listen to. I'm sure back in that time and go, "Oh my God."
Oh yeah, yeah.
And that we in commercial music that at least that most people could go find. We didn't have that many guys that were that stunning. We had, obviously Neil Sean's great, blah blah blah. But I'm saying as far as being,
but not like the next level guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Because what we're talking about right now is, if you think about it, we're talking about Yngwie, and what I'm saying is, I was a complete music junkie. I played music every day.
Yeah.
I saw music every day.
Yeah.
We didn't have the internet, but I read everything.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, this guy comes into into Wolfgang's, and he's doing this arpeggio sweeping, and you're just going like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah. He was, when I got Yngwie from two sides. Bill Burkhardt at the Record Exchange, which was one of the epicenters of the heavy metal underground in the United States. Bill Burkhardt, when I was down visiting him, he said, "Hey, some exchange student from Sweden here dropped this demo tape off of this band Rising Force. He goes, you should hear this guitar player." And he played it for me, and I go, "Oh my God, you're going to call him?" And I go, "Well, he's in Sweden." I'm 24 or 5 years old or something like that.
You got no money to fly him out.
Just seems, barely. It just seemed insurmountable, to go through all that stuff. So anyway, the next thing you know, he's probably a year or two later, he's sending me a letter saying, "Hey, here I am," and he sent me a little introduction on a cassette.
Is that because he heard you're looking for the new dopest guy ever?
Yes, and by then Guitar Player heard that I was looking, and they invited me down to a party, and I cornered the editor, really nice guy, Tom Wheeler, and I said, "Hey, the average guy that buys your magazine doesn't have a Ferrari, like Neil Sean, or he doesn't have, all this stuff. He's a working class guy." And I said, "And there's guys, most of your readers are that guy." And I said, "What about a column for those guys, not the multi-platinum guys, not the guys that are famous, but guys that are just in the underground, that are just digging in and trying to better themselves. What about a column like that?" And the guy said, "Send me a sample." So I sent him a sample, and he said, "Okay, you're on." So
it was called Spotlight.
Yeah, so I started writing it. Within the first year of Spotlight, Yngwie saw it.
Yeah.
And then he sent me.
Now, Spotlight was a column where guitar players, unknown guys, send you tapes, and you would listen to some and write about them. Like, "Hey, this guy from Oklahoma named Tom. He's got an interesting style. He plays a lot like Matthias Jabs or whatever."
Yeah. And Billy Sheehan was one of the first guys I wrote about, and it was his first piece of national press.
Wow.
Which is pretty wild. And then, of course, Paul Gilbert and Yngwie and Vinnie Moore and Tony McAlpine and all these guys came through the column as well, or through my label, one way or the other. But
and this is how you found guys to sign too.
Some cases, yeah. A lot of them came through the label, and some came through the magazine. In both cases, and then I was also out there with contacts in different cities with these editors of these magazines. So I had people funneling stuff through me that way. And so anyway, I think that Yngwie was the first big, guitar hero of the 80s.
He really was.
It really had a massive influence on people. So I kind of accomplished what I wanted to accomplish. I thought I was going to do it with a guy from the States.
Yeah, right.
I really was expecting it. I had U.S. metal unsung guitar hero.
Yeah, and here's the Swedish guy.
He was a Swedish guy, but he was too good. I couldn't deny him. And especially, he came knocking twice. Once through a exchange student, and then through his own letter to me. Funny thing is, Yngwie sent me a cassette, and he's like, hello, I'm Yngwie Malmsteen from Stockholm, Sweden. And he's like going through this whole thing. And it was priceless because he mispronounced a bunch of words, and he's so eloquent in general, you know what I mean? But because he hadn't been to America yet, he didn't know how to pronounce certain words, and it was very, very cool tape. And it had all these jams and all this stuff, and his 4 tracks and all this stuff on it. And this young kid that it was a friend of mine. He was about 16. His name was Brian Koppelman, and Brian Koppelman came out to visit and brought his 16-year-old guitar friend from New York to be in the guitar grudge match at the Stone, which is in like
I remember it
in 1981 or something, right?
That was like another thing where guys like Guitar Wars, but it was just guitar guys.
Yes, exactly, just guitarists. And so he brings Pete Zizzo out, Brian Koppelman. They have to have my Yngwie tape to borrow it, you know, and they're going to return it. So they leave here with my tape.
Yeah.
And Pete Zizzo and Brian Koppelman go on some kind of a drive with one of their girlfriends and leave it in her glove box. The guy breaks up with her. I think it was Zizzo. Breaks up with the girl. Got my tape in her glove box.
Oh.
And at the time, I'm like, don't lose this thing, man. So Pete Zizzo would grow up to be a songwriter, producer, work with Celine Dion and a bunch of other big pop artists. Brian Koppelman wrote Ocean's 13.
Wow.
All this stuff. These are just kids coming out to visit me.
Yeah.
And Brian staying at my house, and Pete Zizzo staying at Dan Mevlin's house.
Yep.
You know, and here these guys go on to become, you know, top of their industry. Koppelman wrote Rounders.
And he lost your tape.
And he lost my tape, yeah. So that's my claim to fame. You know, a well-known screenwriter and director guy is responsible for me losing my Yngwie tape. Yeah. But you know, who knows? Maybe it'll resurface someday. But it was pretty fun tape.
That'd be an epic tape to have, just like, you know.
Man, it sure would. And a friend of mine actually copied my copy back then, and someday he may come across his. And if he does, that'll be an epic moment for me, because it'll be fun to hear that again. But anyway, I mean, I've been continuing doing this. I've done over 500 records now.
Now, hold on. Before we carry on, one more Yngwie thing.
Yeah.
He gets over here. When you first hear it, do you think the shit's fake? Because, when he gets here, do you say, plug in, I want to see you play?
No, I never thought it was fake. It was too organic and too great, and nobody had the technology to fake anything like that.
Right, I understand, but I'm just saying it was just so like, what the fuck?
Yeah, no, he plugged in, you know, at some point immediately and played like that. And it was,
like at your house or something?
At the Prairie Sun, I guess.
Prairie Sun, yeah.
But prior to that, he went right to L.A., I think, initially, and
right.
He worked out with the Streeler guys, and then came up to record.
When you saw it, though, you had to be going like, look at this guy, man.
It was
because I saw Eddie early on, didn't you? And remember, Eddie would turn around when he would do his solos, like some of the stuff he wouldn't let you see. I remember there was a time I was on the side and I could see he was using a Heineken bottle on some of the stuff. And I was like, oh, look at that, man. You know, like he really kept that shit secret for a while.
Well, Van Halen was just amazing and is amazing. And when the LA Times got a hold of my little story, in the entertainment column, it was Patrick somebody, I can't remember, he had the Sunday music column in the Chronicle, and it said, can you blow away Eddie Van Halen? If so, Mike Varney wants you, something like that. It was a story about me looking for these guitar players, and I felt really bad. It was right in Van Halen's neighborhood in the Chronicle and then the LA Times, and it said, you can blow away Van Halen. And I wasn't trying to blow anybody away. I just wanted to find guys that were going to make a mark on history.
Yeah.
You know? And so.
All right, so you get Yngwie, and of course, the 80s shred machine is up and running.
Yeah, and we're the forefront of it.
Yeah, absolutely. You're the king. Everyone wants to be on Shrapnel. You had to be getting thousands of tapes a week.
Thousands of tapes.
Now, who was listening to them? I know my friend Cliff was your intern for a while, but before that, did you just have guys putting in a cassette going, nope, whoa, maybe?
No, it was all me, and I would just get 100 or 200 of them at a time, and I'd sit there and I go. And I'd hear a few notes. If I heard a squirrely vibrato or out of tune bend or whatever, I'd just pull the tape out and chuck it.
Yeah, because you got an amazing ear.
Well, I mean, it's okay. I mean, I'm a guitar player.
No, but so. I mean, you know guitar, and you just be like, oh, this is hacky. Just,
mosquito vibrato, get away from me.
Mosquito vibrato.
Yeah, so
now, if you really look at Yngwie, he is just Ritchie Blackmore.
He's Ritchie Blackmore with a much better technique and just incredible progression from where Blackmore started.
Yeah. I love the famous Yngwie, the plane fight where he's on the plane drunk.
Oh, yeah.
Hey,
now you've unleashed the fury.
Yeah. You released the fury.
Unleash the fury.
Unleash the fury. I love the thing I like about Yngwie. And I'm not like a big shred guitar guy, but I always like the guy that's first or whatever.
Yeah, sure.
And he was a fucking rock star.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, the way this guy played, the way he looked, and the outlaw shit when he do coke and had the shotguns on the guys at the door. All this shit
Drive a Ferrari into a tree.
into a tree, whatever. He's just rock and roll, man.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, he was a total rock and roll story. I think, from what I gather, his wife and family have and child and everything. I think he's a different person than he was back then.
Yeah, I'm sure you got to be, or else you end up dying.
Yeah, I think he's got his things. I'm imagining he's got things together. But
you talk to him ever?
Not for a long time. We used to talk, you know, at different times pretty regularly over the years. But there's no reason why I don't talk to him. It's just,
right? Yeah. I'm not looking for dirt.
No.
Yeah.
We just haven't talked in a while. But there's no reason for it.
Does he go to? You go to NAMM shows still?
You know, I saw him at a NAMM show probably 6 years ago or something. That was probably the last time. I went to the NAMM show last year and the year before. Last year I decided I'm not going to go again.
Is that right? This is the first year I decided I'm going to go this year. Maybe interview some guys.
I think it'll be great for your radio show.
Yeah, and the insanity of the NAMM show is just insane.
Yeah, I mean, my feet hurt now.
It really does, right?
There, and I mean, you're walking for 7-8 hours, and you're walking miles.
Yeah,
I mean, and not just a mile. And for someone that doesn't get that much exercise, you know, it's a little nuts. And the other thing, go ahead.
How drunk would I get at the NAMM show?
Back in the day?
Yeah.
Crazy.
Oh, my God.
I remember Chris Holmes had you by the headlock.
Yeah.
And you were a pretty, stout guy. He was just dragging you along like a rag doll, just pulling you along the NAMM show in a headlock. Do you remember that?
I don't, man.
Huh?
I don't remember that.
Yeah.
See, the great thing about you, Varney, is you were around on some of my epic drinking and partying era.
Yeah. You somehow got into a conversation with Chris Holmes. You were having fun, and the next thing you know, he somehow had a hold of you. He's kind of pulling you around. I just kind of remember that from a long time ago. I just saw Holmes, by the way, in the last month or so.
He just joined some band I saw.
Did he?
Yeah, like I don't know. Last week I saw it on Blabbermouth. I'll send it over to you.
I saw Chris Holmes. He's a total gentleman.
Yep.
Sober. Married a really nice French girl, and who seems to be very business oriented, and seems to have her act together pretty good.
Yeah.
And he's still Chris Holmes, but he's a gentrified Chris Holmes,
right?
If you could say that,
Yeah. I'm dying to have him on the show.
I have his phone number.
Oh, I need it because he and I toured together.
Yeah.
Remember his Animal band, or what were they called?
It was Animal.
Animal. So
no, Psycho Machine.
Psycho Squad. That was it.
Yeah.
Back then. We're jumping all around, but it's cool because it's funny. But I would book tours, and one of them was with Zakk Wylde's Leonard Skinhead, and we opened. Yeah. You were there the night I beat Zakk Wylde arm wrestling, and he went crazy.
Oh, right.
Let's talk a little bit about that.
That was
just
backstage at the Omni, right?
No, one step beyond San Jose.
Oh, okay. But I was there, right?
Santa Clara. You were there. Here's what happens.
I remember the story.
It was great.
No, I remember. Tell me about it.
So we're in the dressing room. And we booked a tour. So it's Tulane and Leonard Skinhead, his cover band before they go Pride and Glory.
Right, sure. It was with the guys from White Lion.
That's right.
Yeah.
So we're backstage drinking. I was still drinking back then, I believe. Oh, no, I wasn't drinking. He was. He was drinking fiercely. His wife was with him. We were in the dressing room.
Yeah.
That's right. We were in the dressing room, me, you, and him. We were talking. Barbara Ann was in there. And then he said, "Man, Dean, this guy's got some pretty big fucking guns." My arms and I was like, "That's right." And he's like, "Let's fucking arm wrestle right now." And I said, "Yeah, let's do it." And I remember seeing behind him his wife, Barbara Ann, give me the "don't do it." And I'm thinking, she thinks I'm going to lose.
Yeah.
Fuck that.
Yeah.
What I didn't know was about to come. We arm wrestle.
Yeah.
I beat him. You're standing right there.
Yeah.
He smashes everything in there and hits the wall of the dressing room. He goes, "Fuck that. We're fighting." When he hit that wall, the only reason we didn't fight was the manager came into the dressing room. He had knocked all the gold records off the wall on the other side.
Is that your friend Jimmy?
Yeah, Jimmy and the other guy that was managing it.
Yeah.
And they said, "What the fuck is going on in here?" So, "Get out!" And then his wife grabbed him, and I remember the next day we were in like Fresno, and he came up. Sorry, man, I got a little wild last night.
Zach's a very nice guy.
He is, but these particular.
He was a party animal back then.
He was a party animal, but party animal to the most extreme was Chris Holmes.
Yeah.
We were at the Phoenix Hotel. We're on tour, and we're playing the Stone. I got one room, he's got another, and I got beers.
Yeah.
I start hearing this, and I'm like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, a hand comes through my wall. And he goes, pass me a beer, motherfucker. He had he axed a hole into the wall at the Phoenix.
So he gets some beer from you.
Yeah, to make a beer hole. And he's not in Wasp anymore. This is like shit band. We're making like
no money to pay.
We're making like $2,500 a week.
Yeah, he has no money to pay for anything.
And I'm like, dude, what are you doing? He's all, fuck it, man. They'll fix this. So that's a great Chris Holmes.
Oh my
he
gosh.
axed a hole in the wall and said, pass a beer, motherfucker.
I've got a lot of Chris Holmes stories. None of them are going to go on the.
No, we won't. But anyway,
I will just say that Chris Holmes has always been a nice guy to me, and I always look forward to seeing him. And I saw him and Randy Piper play a set of Wasp at my friend's club, Vamped, in Vegas. And it was a great night. I mean, they got a guy that they could do the Blackie thing really well, and that's not easy to do, the vibrato and stuff.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
The raspiness.
Yeah.
The guy killed it. And they did all the classic Wasp stuff, and people were going nuts that cared.
Yeah.
People were going nuts. I couldn't believe I was fortunate enough to be there and see these guys reunite.
That's cool, right?
That situation, yeah. And they're both nice as can be. They always were nice people.
Now, you're an absolute music freak. I read you have 40,000 records. Is that right? You gotta hold that.
My hand's getting numb.
Switch.
I don't know how many I have. I probably have a few.
You have more than that, is what you're really saying.
I have a few. No, I'm not saying that.
Now, where do you have these records? At your house?
I'm not saying. I don't know where I've got records.
You can't be all mysterious on records. It's not gold.
No. I was much more of a collector than I am now. You know?
Oh, really?
I like CDs though a lot. And
you like CDs?
I still actually collect CDs.
Wow, I don't give a fuck about CDs.
Vinyl was too difficult. Those records are too difficult for me to pack around.
It's true.
And you know.
Now let's talk about. So you find Yngwie, and we're talking about the machines up and running.
Yeah.
Now, are you the one that finds Randy Rhoads for Ozzy? What is this story?
No, that apparently was Dana Strum.
Dana Strum
from Slaughter.
Okay.
I believe that he's the one that found Randy Rhoads for Ozzy. I hooked Ozzy up with Fred Corey at one point, I think when Jake was in the band, and they brought Fred over to England, and for whatever reason, they let him go, which is too bad because Fred's a great drummer. And then I think I may or may not have hooked up Dean with Ozzy. I can't remember. Maybe I did or didn't.
Did you get Zach Wilde for Ozzy?
No.
I thought you were the guy that Ozzy would call. Did you get Brad Gillis?
No, I got none of that. No. Those guys, I only talked to Sharon a couple of times in my life. Once was about some drummers, and I think once was I was going to put together an all-star guitar record in 1981 or 80, and it was going to be. I talked to her about getting Randy Rhoads on it and Gary Moore because they had both of them under their Jet Records.
Yeah.
And but that was the first time, and then I think a couple of times maybe regarding getting different musicians for them, but. No, I didn't have anything to do with those guys. As far as I know, Dana Strum was the one that brought Randy Rhoads to Ozzy. Now,
do you feel after Yngwie, Randy Rhoads became the king? He was the next guy. Because what's weird is Randy, to me, is an extension of Eddie Van Halen, where Yngwie was way more radical.
Well, Randy Rhoads was before.
He was before because of Quiet Riot. But what I'm saying is how the public found him.
I would say the public found him before Yngwie also, by about a year or two.
Okay.
And I think
you mean on the Blizzard of Oz record? Is that 81?
Yeah.
You're right. You're right, because a guy told me a couple days ago that he feels Eddie Van Halen played way more mean and radical on Fair Warning because of Blizzard of Oz was out. And he was like, what the fuck? This guy's going to take my thunder? And that's what this guy feels. You know?
Well, the fact is that Rhoads and Van Halen were coexisting in that music scene down there at the L.A., playing the Starwood and the whiskey.
Yeah,
and all
they were.
Stuff.
Yeah,
they were right there.
Quiet Riot, Herb. A lot of people don't. If you don't know, Randy was in the early version of Quiet Riot. I mean, you'd have to be living on Mars not to know that.
Right.
But they had a Japanese deal, and they were
records. Yeah.
and they looked kind of like the Faces.
Yeah.
You know, and they had that "Come On, Feel the Noise." You know, they had that shit.
As a little aside, when I was, I did Kevin DuBro's only solo album, and we did it, you know, probably just a few years before he passed away. And he and I were really proud of it because he and I met in 1977 when I was down playing with the Dictators, opening for the Dictators with the Nuns, and I was out hanging out in the Whiskey parking lot or the Rainbow parking lot at 2 a.m. And Kevin DuBro and I just sort of came face to face and started talking. And Kevin DuBro was just a guy trying to, you know, make something happen at the time. And we started talking about what music we like. Hey, what do you like, man? What are you into? And we started talking, and he told me he liked this Sweet and I think maybe, you know, bands like that, and Silverhead maybe, or Michael DeBar, stuff like that. We were just kind of talking and old rock influences and Small Faces and Steve Marriott and all this stuff. We had a lot in common. And so by the time that Quiet Riot made it, I already knew Kevin DuBro, you know, because I met him back in the 70s. And so when Kevin died, you know, his CD collection was all packed up, and I was in a pawn shop. It was packed up at the house, and I was at a pawn shop.
He died in Vegas. You're at a pawn shop in Vegas?
In Vegas, yeah. And I came across stuff that I had to be his. It was like 6 or 7 bands that would be on his lips if we talk about the 70s, you know?
Right.
Weird stuff. And they had price stickers from Japan, from Germany, you know, in the monetary, you know.
Yeah.
They're standard in different countries.
Right.
And like, who but a rock star is going to be buying CDs in all these different countries with the different prices on them?
That's right.
So I called up his girlfriend, you know, the one that was, you know, his girlfriend before he died.
See if they got robbed or something?
I said, hey, I thought Kevin's CDs were, you know, you guys had those taken care of or whatever. She said somebody broke in and took them.
Wow.
So I found them in a pawn shop, but by then they'd already been picked through and there wasn't a whole lot left, right?
Right.
And so then I'm in a record store and I find test pressings of, I think, both the Quiet Riot albums on Columbia.
Wow.
And
someone sold those.
And so I went up to and I found some copies of Snow, the Carlos Cavazo thing.
Yeah.
Which they probably gave to Kevin. Hey, I want to play in your band. Here's, you know, my record or whatever, right?
Right.
And so I went up to the guy and I said, hey, what's with this stuff? And he goes, Kevin DuBro's mother brought those in. And so I'm thinking, you know, how could she do this? And then I was talking this to a friend of mine. He goes, Mike, what's a 75-year-old woman going to do with a vinyl record collection?
Yeah, right.
Think about it. You know, what makes more sense? And I go,
yeah,
I guess you're right. So anyway, I went down to a year after Kevin died because he was Jewish. They have a dedication, and you know, people went down to his grave and his mother and stuff. Went back to his mom's house.
Is he buried in Vegas?
No, he's buried down with the ocean view down in I believe it's Orange County.
Yeah.
Sort of by, or wherever, there's a school down there that's famous. I can't think of the name of it, but it's kind of out by there. But anyway, I ended up with some of Kevin's test pressings and some of this stuff that I knew was important to him, you know. And I thought, like, this shouldn't be just sitting here.
That's crazy shit, right?
Store. Yeah. So, and I thought this is what Kevin got sent to him as his first listen to himself, you know, on a record.
Yeah.
Here, check this out from Japan. It had a, you know, printed Japanese, you know, paper thing over the cover, and the record was a white label, you know, and that stuff. So I got that stuff and felt, you know, good that I, you know, at least rescued that stuff from.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
What about now? Your whole life you never partied at all, but you've hung around the most lunatic people ever, like
Absolutely.
me. You know, Kevin DuBro, I mean, the guy was a complete cocaine addict, which was really weird that he got back on it right out there, just demons of Vegas.
Well, here's the thing. I would go see Kevin, and my friends would go see Kevin, and my friends, I have a friend that's really pretty straight guy. They go out to dinner all the time. Kevin would never party. You know, and he was not somebody that you'd see all the time wrecked or whatever, and I'd go out with him and never see anything like that. In fact, he was like a gymnasium guy, you know. You'd see him, he'd be all, you know, be in really good shape and real thin and you know, like really worked out a lot. So the cocaine thing was obviously just some kind of a dark side thing that would pop out. And when he would work, no way.
Yeah.
Touring, no way.
Yeah.
Come home and be kicking back,
Just demons, yeah.
He would do it sometimes. But
Right.
It wasn't like he wasn't a coke freak or a serious addict or whatever, as far as I know, because I was with him enough times to not.
Yeah, you can tell when guys are on blow.
Yeah,
I mean, they get all fucking.
Some, but
Yeah.
But you know, he. I think it was just one of these things where you kind of binge out every once in a while. You know, that's my feeling about it.
Yeah, well, that's how you usually die, because you're off it for a long time, and then you get on this bender, and you're trying to do the amount that you used to do, and then just boom, you die. You know, and that was kind of just like out of nowhere, like, whoa, fucking Kevin DeBarreau's dead.
And I can say this too about Kevin. Always been really nice to me, and I'd read that stuff in the paper, and I'd think to myself, like, God, guy sounds like a jerk, but. What it was that he would give 110% of himself.
Yeah.
And if somebody else didn't do that, you know, he'd let you know. You know, and he was very vocal about things. You know what I mean? But
he's a front man.
Yeah.
People don't understand. It's like comedians.
It takes something to get up there.
It really fucking is. It's like a comedian. You've come to see me. You
got to psych yourself up to be bigger than life in front of a whole bunch of people.
And it's hard to turn that off.
Yeah, sure.
I think as you get older, like me as a comedian, it's easier to turn it off because it's just like you're trying. The goal of comedy is to be yourself off stage and on stage. You're the same person.
Right.
That's when you become the super king of comedy.
I see.
Like a lot of times you'll roll with guys and you go, this is the same fucking guy. He's just telling me the story. He just walked on and told that same story in the same tone and everything. He's killing.
Yeah.
But it's hard when you're a singer, especially in the 80s when we were rolling. And drugs and the radical front man was what it was about.
Yeah.
It's hard. You got to live up to that.
Yeah.
You know? Now, your label only started concentrating on guitar guys, right? You never tried to really sign bands.
You know, we signed bands, but they had to have in most cases, some kind of. Really
like Racer X had two guys that are killer.
Paul Gilbert, above average guitar players.
Right.
And then in 1990, I started Blues Bureau.
Now, what's that, a blues label?
Yeah, that's got like a dozen Pat Travers records, about 6 or 7 Rick Derringer records, a bunch of Leslie West records.
Right. That's one thing I want to talk to you about before we get into that. It's amazing. You and I grew up in the Bay Area, and you think about 60,000 people to go see Robin Trower at Oakland Coliseum down the Green.
Right.
60,000.
Yeah.
I mean, that is fucking unheard of to go see a guitar player that has 0 hits.
Right.
He's playing Bridge of Sigh.
Yeah.
And it's sold out.
Yeah.
And on the bill, you have like Johnny Winter.
Yeah.
You have guys that 4 of them couldn't get 1,000 people.
Right
now.
Right.
It blows my mind
where these people went.
Where it went. And also, like Frank Marino is one of my favorites, Mahogany Rush.
Yeah, I worked with him a little bit.
Yeah, right, recently. But when you think about these guys, sold out 60,000 seats at Oakland A's baseball field where the Raiders play.
Right.
This is unbelievable.
Serious business.
70s had rock god guitar players.
Yeah.
And it was crazy, right?
Yeah.
Because there's no hits.
Frank Marino was a teenager, and so was Pat Travers when they came out. The guys aren't that old.
No, they really aren't.
No.
Now, Frank Marino, is this true? I always heard that he didn't play guitar before. And then he got in a crash or something, and he said the spirit of Hendrix came in him.
Well, this is the funny thing.
Okay.
I asked him about that when I worked with him on a couple of records, and he and I used to talk. You know, it's been years, but we used to talk back and forth. And he's a very bright person, Frank Marino, very, very intelligent. And that's probably one of the things that might even have held him back, because he's super smart.
Right.
And if he can figure out how something's going to fail before he even gets out there and even gives it a shot, I think. You know?
He already runs the scenario through his head and then just says, fuck it.
I'm not saying that, but I mean, that's the only thing I can come up with is the reason why, we haven't seen as much of him as you think you would see of him, because of his talent. He's immensely talented.
Oh, God.
And very smart and a very nice guy and extremely articulate. And he can do a bunch of things really well. I think he's a whiz at computers. I think he's a whiz at car mechanics. He's
just kind of a genius whiz guy.
I think he's that guy.
Right.
Really super smart. And so I said to Marino, I said, what was this about you saying that the Spirit of Jimi Hendrix interview and stuff? He goes, oh, man, that wasn't me. That was an A&R guy, right?
Oh, yeah.
And I thought, oh, okay. And I took that to mean that, I thought, oh, okay. And I took that to mean that, oh, okay. And I thought, 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 when they were promoting him,
They were looking for a story.
the promotion department went out, ran a press release, and wrote this BS down, and then Frank had to sit there and sort of like live by it, right?
Wow.
But years later, a European record collector was over here, and he had a Frank Marino interview disc from like 71.
Oh.
And I bought it off him, and I listened to it.
Yeah.
And he's telling the story on the disc. So,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, maybe eventually it wasn't hurting him, you know?
Well, the thing, too, is that he said that wasn't him, that was the label. So that's still telling the truth.
Yeah.
I just misunderstood him. I thought he meant the label actually went out there and ran with that.
Yeah.
Rather than the label put him up to it or created a scenario where he couldn't back down from it.
Yeah.
You know, where he had to run with it. You know.
I think one of the greatest clips, if you go on YouTube right now, is you type in Frank Marino, Dan the Green.
Yeah.
And you watch him play the epic Monsters of Rock Day with Ted Nugent, AC/DC, Frank Marino, and
Frank Marino could destroy all those guys. All those guys are amazing, though. But,
right.
I mean, but Frank Marino is the king of.
Well, you could really see what was going on that day of the machismo of rock when each guy was like, "Who's on the bill? Oh, fuck that guy!
Yeah,
I'm going to make sure you remember."
Rip my shirt off, you know.
Yeah, and to see this, they're shooting it from the side of the stage. So you're seeing Marino just absolutely destroy, and you're looking out, and it's 65,000 people out there just going crazy, man. Yeah. Now, these concerts have never left my mind.
But they've left 59,000 other people's minds.
It's pretty crazy, right? A lot of people give up on their. I talk about it a lot on this podcast.
It's true.
When people say to me, they say, "Hey, man, who do you like?" I go, "Man, I love the Black Crowes." They go, "Yeah, me too. What happened to them?" And I just like, what do you mean?
What happened?
They put out like 13 records. They're on tour right now.
Yeah, Chris Robinson Brotherhood maybe, but that's the side project.
Yeah, and they just give up on people. Isn't it weird?
It's weird.
Like their mind just, like you and I mean, there's probably, I know about 30 guys I can talk music with. You're one of them.
Yeah.
And we could talk. And we do when we see each other. Like, we didn't see each other for 20 years, and we ran into in Vegas a year ago. And we talked till 5 in the fucking morning.
Right.
And we looked for Jakey Lee out in the desert.
And we almost found him.
We found his car, his Camaro.
But I've subsequently found him, you know, and he's doing well.
And I think what happens is it really just, the Bay Area or California was just this golden rock machine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, I just wonder. I mean, I know how big I was into these artists like Frank Marino, and if I see a Frank Marino CD out, I will buy it.
Oh yeah, hell yeah.
If I see a Robin Trower CD, I'll buy it. I mean, I'm still interested in buying music from the people that I really think are amazing, you know. And I just it's for a lot of people that was just that was like it went out with them smoking pot. The housewife.
Yeah, you're right. It's like the blacklight posters came down.
Yeah.
The weed went out, and so did that stuff.
Went with it.
Yeah.
Went with it. It was all part of that thing.
Isn't that right?
I don't smoke pot anymore. I don't listen to that music anymore. I don't have blacklight posters anymore. You know, I now go to soccer games, and I do this and that, and this is who I am now. I'm in a country club, and I'm in a PTA meeting, and blah, blah, blah. I'm not that anymore.
That's fucking crazy, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, it is crazy, but I never was into the drug thing or the drinking or whatever, any of that
How
stuff.
did you get out of that? Stay out of that? Were you scared?
No, religious.
Oh, are you religious?
I was religious.
I noticed that because, like,
I'm not saying I'm not religious, but I'm just saying I'm not as radical as I was.
I love how you always like if I say, "Yeah, fuck that guy," you go, "Well, I wouldn't say that," but
well, I might say that. I said it already here once.
Yeah,
or
but
twice.
I'm saying you're like a pretty positive guy.
Try to be.
Right, you try to be.
Try to be. That doesn't mean that I can't get negative, but
yeah.
Anyway, I've got to be going pretty soon.
Yeah, you got it.
But I'd like to.
Oh yeah, I want to ask you a few more things before we go. Yeah. Well, first of all, I used to work for you at your house and mow your lawns and shit. Right?
Like I told you, my favorite story is you running around my house with a towel around you, and my wife going, "What's he doing with his clothes off?" I go, "You were going in the city to somewhere you didn't want to be a reeker, so you'd help put a fence in. Build a fence, and you're like." I think you said to Cliff, "Hey, you think Varney care if I took a shower or something?" "No, I'll go right ahead." So that and my wife didn't know anything about it. He said, "What's this Dean running around with a towel on himself?" But yeah, you were going into the city for something. So
that's funny, man. Like
that's what that was about.
There's an epic story though of you and I going to see Cinderella on the Long Cold Winter tour.
with the limousine drivers smoking dope in the car and stuff. And the guy freaking out going over the Golden Gate Bridge. You cannot smoke marijuana going over the Golden Gate Bridge.
Yeah.
And the reason why that's really epic is because the limousine driver was told by the company that we had tickets for him, and so that he could party with us. So he was going to drive for free.
That's right.
So we were paying.
Yeah.
But the driver was told it was a party.
Yeah.
Right. And so he wasn't going to get paid. He was just going to drive a bunch of guys in bands and stuff, and a record executive to go see Cinderella.
Yeah.
So he had a girl with him in the front seat.
Yeah.
We hired a limousine company, and we got a guy and his girlfriend going to a party. And all I said was, well, we'll treat your driver well. We got tickets.
Yeah.
That turned into, hey, man, look, there's not going to be any pay, but you'll be able to party with the guys. You go backstage and stuff like that. And so this guy's smoking dope in the car, going over the Golden Gate Bridge in the suicide lane.
Yeah, in the suicide lane.
We had
one wrong move.
We had a guy, we'll not name, but it was phobic.
Yeah.
About bridges and stuff, and freaking out.
Yeah.
This guy was smoking in the car.
Just insane.
And I wasn't even that freaked out about it myself.
No, but the driver's just getting loaded. And we're in the back, like, what's going on there?
And then I had to say, hey, listen, this isn't really cool. I mean, you're not, you're supposed to be doing a job. He goes, I was told I was going to a party. And I'm like, what?
He's just drinking and driving. Our driver just fucking getting loaded.
Yeah, exactly.
Man.
Exactly.
Who do you think was the biggest seller for you? Yngwie?
I would say in America, The Steeler was probably among the top few bestsellers. And, McAlpine and Vinnie Moore and full for all time with all the records I'd done with Paul Gilbert and Racer X, they're right up there too.
Right.
And then Marty Freedman and Jason Becker would probably come, close under that. And
now, how's Jason doing? What does he have?
Well, you say how Jason's doing. I would say that Jason is doing, as far as I know, really well for someone who's had Lou Gehrig's disease for 20 years.
Yeah, they got like a movie out on him or something, right?
A movie out on him. I'm in the movie. It's a really great movie in that it really shows that no matter what you think you have to complain about in this world, if you see Jason Becker, who can only move his eyes and talk with his eyes, and he's totally paralyzed.
Yeah.
And he's been this way for years and years and years and years. He's lived more than half his life with Lou Gehrig's disease, and he still can crack jokes and still, most of the time has a, fairly positive outlook.
Right.
And he's a big inspiration to a lot of people. And, he was one of the nicest kids I ever had on the label, and to think this would happen to him was just absolutely horrific. But the guy will still write the nicest letters, most appreciative letters, thank you for keeping my music alive. Thank you, stuff like that. And
now, how does he talk with his eyes?
His dad devised a chart.
And
the chart's got the alphabet, and it cuts the alphabet into like 6 eye moves, like up, down, right, left, each eye, right? So
right.
8 moves or whatever, right?
Yeah.
So each of the eye movements that he's capable of doing correspond to a section of the alphabet.
Yep.
And then once you go to that section, he gives the look again, and it goes to the letter in that grouping.
So he can hear.
Hears perfectly.
So he hears perfect.
Yeah.
And then just talks with his eyes.
There is a sex manual on the internet, on YouTube, put there by an extremely beautiful, young, gorgeous sex therapist.
Yeah.
That was Jason's girlfriend for, several years. And when they broke up, she made a manual on how to please Jason Becker.
Whoa.
And it's on YouTube.
Are you kidding?
I'm serious. And the last time I saw Jason in person, or one of the last times in the last year or two, there's a really beautiful girl there that was very interested in her 20s, talking about Jason and stuff. And I heard through the grapevine that she became his girlfriend.
That's crazy, right?
So Jason Becker has had some of the hottest and coolest chicks as girlfriends since he's had Lou Gehrig. Then friends I have that have dough that are
look at me. I got nothing.
Yeah, they have all their faculties together, right? And the guy's pulling more more cool chicks than guys that have nothing, no handicap.
Yeah. So I used to get a lot of chicks there. Remember?
Absolutely. I remember you coming in with a pair of ostrich boots or something, and some stripper bought you, and a bunch of other stuff, and some cash.
Yeah.
A whole. Well, they weren't ostrich, but they were some kind of exotic snakeskin.
Yeah.
Whatever. But yeah, but yeah, no. Jason is a great guy. He tries to keep his positive attitude, and he still creates music. He still has musical ideas. He was able to compose with his eyes using a computer. They've used technology at the highest levels to let him to keep creating and keep being able to be himself. And
that's awesome.
He's just a real inspiration to me and to others. And I find I find the part that he's kind of a stud. I find that to be, an interesting part about him, given that he's handicapped, and it should be an inspiration to anybody else who's handicapped. As long as you've got a good heart and a good head, you can be good jokes and be amusing and keep people.
You got to keep going.
Yeah, exactly.
You think we're gonna die from candy?
From eating.
Yeah.
I was going to go get an ice cream sundae right now down at Lori's Diner. So,
well, you and I are absolutely
we're diabetes candidates right now.
Since I've known you,
diabetes happening.
We fucking eat this shit all day long. Yeah, I'll ask you two more questions to get out.
Yeah, sure.
First one is, who do you think the greatest guitar player is ever?
There's no answer to that.
I know there really isn't.
I can't even answer that. I have so many guys that I've worked with that I think are amazing for different reasons.
Right.
And in different styles and different categories. And there's so many different grades of different things that I couldn't even begin to tell you. I've seen guys blow me away all over the place in every style you can imagine,
Me too, because I think it's different eras. Like, to me, Michael Schenker on Armed and Ready record, I saw him play that one.
Yeah.
Could be some of the best guitar playing I've ever seen.
Yeah, yes. I worked with him in the studio producing him and sat down there with him. I have to say, out of all the people that I've worked with, he definitely is of the highest caliber.
That was about, what, 5 years ago or something?
I haven't worked with him probably in
8 years?
8 years, but I did do probably 5 solo records and 2 UFO albums with him. And
even 8 years ago, he was great?
Stupidly good.
Yeah.
As good, no, sorry, better than he used to be.
Are you kidding?
No, seriously, he's great.
Because I'll tell you what, those first 2 Schenker records, Armed and Ready, and the other one,
he's amazing.
There's nothing better.
No, it's just absolutely staggering.
All right, I do a thing. You'll get out of here. Every guy asks. I do a thing called Rock Fantasy League.
Okay.
You get 4 band members. You get to pick them. Who are they? 4 guys.
Oh, my gosh.
You can pick singer, guitar, bass, and drums. It's really hard, but just shoot one out. Some guys take. You don't need to take an hour. It's a knee-jerk reaction.
I couldn't do it.
Yeah? You can't put together 4 guys you want to see play?
I do it all the time.
Okay, who do you want to see play?
Doesn't mean they'd be better than 4 other guys that I've seen play.
Yeah. Schenker on guitar.
You know what? I can't even say.
You can't do it.
I've created these situations for years. Where
You
I put
have
4 of the best people I can think of together.
And you would have them record records?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
We just did a thing with Vinnie Moore.
Vinnie Moore?
And this drummer called Scott Coogan, who played with Ace Frehley and Lita Ford and I think Edna Swap and the Brides of Destruction and a bunch of stuff. An amazing rock drummer and singer. And Vinnie Moore on guitar and Kelly Keeling on vocals, who's amazing.
Before you split, look at this. This is your list of on Wikipedia guys you worked with. Yngwie Malmsteen. David Lee Roth?
No.
It says David Lee Roth.
You're right. Magna Carta did do a David Lee Roth album called Diamond Dave, my label Magna Carta. So we did do David Lee Roth.
Okay. Kansas.
They did an album for Magna
L.A.
Carta.
Guns. Tracy Guns. You love him, right? Brides of Destruction.
Shrapnel.
Great White.
Shrapnel, 2 records.
Which singer?
Jack Russell.
After the tragedy?
Post-fire, yeah.
Post-fire. Wow. After the fire?
Yeah.
Wow, man. That's so heavy, right?
Winger, did Winger 4 and
Bang
Live.
Tango, Winger, John 5, Steve Stevens, The Outlaws, Pat Travers, Rick Derringer, Leslie West. Yeah, I mean, Marty Freedman, Jason Becker, Steve Smith, Greg Howe. It's incredible, man. Thanks for coming by.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
And man, how long we been friends?
I'm
47. How old are you?
I've known you since you were 15, so that's 32 years.
God.
Yeah.
We're still alive.
I guess it would have been 81.
Yeah.
So you were about 15 then.
Yeah, so I'll never forget it.
How old were you when you started singing for AKA?
I don't know. High school, junior. I was a junior, I remember.
16, 17 years old.
Yeah, they were called Metallurge. Did you like that guy, T.T. Hernandez on guitar?
Yeah, Henry.
Yeah, he was Shanker.
Yeah.
Exact.
And Greg, I saw Greg in the last few years.
You did? How is he?
Good.
I saw King Jerry last night. Hadn't seen him.
Let's shut this down.
Yep. Okay, guys, there you go. Let there be talk. Thanks for
guys.
tuning in. Mike Varney. Check him out. Hey, where can you find it?
ShrapnelRecords.com.
ShrapnelRecords.com.
That's
Find
it.
him right there. There he is, the man.
Thank you, Dean.
The myth. Thank you for
Great,
coming by.
great.
Yes.